Tammy Coleman, Associate Director of Connectional Ministries. And in this video segment of Safe Sanctuaries Training, we're going to talk about preparing. And I'd like for you to think for a moment, what does a lifeguard do? What is the role of a lifeguard? According to lifeguard training for the Red Cross, it says that their primary responsibility as a lifeguard is to help ensure the patron's safety and to protect lives. The main tool that they use to accomplish this is called patron surveillance. This is where they keep a close watch over the people in the facility and to intervene whenever it is necessary. I want to ask us as volunteers, as those who participate in the ministries of the church on a regular basis, that we would consider Safe Sanctuaries to be like a lifeguard. That we would be lifeguards, spending our time making sure that the safety of our churches in the midst of our ministries happen. And to do that, we must be on patron surveillance. To do this, we must be alert. We must be attentive to those who are participating and to be ready to react at all times as we continuously supervise those who are entrusted into our care. A lifeguard protects, watches, ensures the safety around a pool or around water. He or she allows swimmers to enjoy playing and to have a good time. And so Safe Sanctuaries has that same role. We want to make sure that the people who come to our churches have a place where they are able to fellowship with one another, able to enjoy the presence of other people, to grow as the body of Christ together. But we also need to make sure that they are protected, that they are safe in the environment of the church. And so how do we do that? First of all, we must prepare our workers, you, our volunteers. And there are a number of ways that we do that. And the first way, the most basic thing, is we ask that you fill out a volunteer form. This is going to ask some basic questions of who you are. What are your gifts? What are your talents? What are your interests that you have? This allows us to get to know you better. Also, it gives us basic information of how to contact you. We also ask for reference checks. This is, again, very common if you volunteer in any community group or any organization. They're going to ask for you to fill out 3 individuals or so, for them to call and ask basic questions. We ask no different in the church. Often I am asked, why do I need to do this? Since I know everyone in the church, I've grown up here. Most of these people are my family. Well, that may be true. But hopefully, we pray that your church is growing and that new people are coming. And you may not have known them all of their lives. You can't ask them to fill out a volunteer form, and you can't ask them to give a reference check if you have not been willing to do that yourself. And so, to ensure that there is consistency, we ask that all people fill out the volunteer forms and the reference checks. Another way that we get to know our volunteers is the 6-month rule. We ask that anyone coming into the church wait 6 months before they engage in the activities of youth or in children. This is to volunteer in those areas. There was a county seat church here in Kentucky, and a man was coming to the church on a regular basis. He asked that he wanted to know more about the children's ministry, wanted to work with the children's ministry and to volunteer. The person who was working with children's ministry contacted him, allowed him to know that they were indeed a Safe Sanctuaries congregation, and that he must fill out the volunteer form and the reference check, and that he must wait 6 months before he is able to begin working with the children. That person never returned to the church. It was a few months later that in the newspaper there was an article about where he had been charged with abuse of a child in another local church. 6-month rule puts off the predator who wants to have instant access to a child or to a youth. It is not, it is just one layer of safety that is put in. And most parents who want to volunteer and take part in the ministry with their children or youth are not put off when told that they must wait 6 months, but understand because they want their child protected as well. Background checks is another way that we get to know our volunteers. The Kentucky Annual Conference policy for Safe Sanctuaries in background checks is for each individual to have a state background check. This only includes a criminal check, not a credit check, as many have asked. Now the state of Kentucky is charging $20 per person for churches to run that background check. What we are encouraging churches to do is to establish with Track 1 an account with them so that they are able to do a national background check that only costs $9 per individual. If a person is volunteering to drive a van or to transport children or youth, then the basic check for motor vehicle is $14.50 with Track 1. Information about Track 1 and how you can establish an account with them can be found on our website under Safe Sanctuaries. We want you to know that as a Kentucky church, you do not have to pay the setup fee, that they will waive that setup fee for you. You are able to get online once you have your account set up and to type in the volunteer's name, their social security number, and address, and it immediately gives you the results of their background check. Again, this is just a layer of protection. This only will show up if someone has been convicted of a crime. I'm often asked what crimes could prevent a person from volunteering to work with children or youth or vulnerable adults in our churches. If someone has been convicted of a sexual offense of any kind, whether that's sodomy, rape, sexual abuse, incest, unlawful transaction of a minor, prostitution, or pornography, those charges would prevent someone from working with children or youth or vulnerable adults in our churches. If someone has been convicted of assault or any other related offenses, they may or may not be able to work with children or youth. This is where your Safe Sanctuaries team would need to gather together to investigate the circumstances around that charge. And they would have the authority to determine whether those circumstances were a one-time offense or whether they were self-defense or anything that would lead them to believe that this person is indeed a safe person to work with children or youth. Other charges that might prevent someone from working with our children and youth are charges pertaining to illegal drugs or alcohol. Questions to ask: did they receive treatment? Was this treatment successful? Have they had a pattern of healthy behavior since those charges? Another way that we get to know you, but also you as volunteers get to know the church and the ministries of the church and the expectations of the church, is to sign a participation covenant. This participation covenant can be geared and individualized for each church and even each event as to what the expectations are of that event and expectations of our volunteers. Part of that is saying that you will abide by the policies of safe sanctuaries, that you will indeed be a lifeguard, ensuring that these policies are followed. Again, this allows clear expectation and communication between the ministries of the church and the volunteers. Another way that we prepare you as volunteers in our church is to attend a training once a year. This allows you to be reminded of what the policies of your church are. This allows you to bring up any other circumstances that you think may pertain to your church. This allows that conversation to happen of how are we doing in this area? What needs to be our focus for this next year? How can we make sure that we are providing a safe place? Another way that we serve as lifeguards and make sure that safe sanctuaries is taking place in our churches is to prepare our facilities. Some guidelines and part of our policy of the annual conference is that we ask that ministry must happen in open view. This may mean that we put windows in our doors or make our doors a half door, or to put a gate in front of the door. This ensures that someone can just walk by and make sure that nothing is happening that should not happen. Again, this ensures your safety and your protection as a volunteer, as well as the safety of the children and youth who are in our ministry setting. No ministry should happen behind closed doors. This includes counseling. Often people want to speak with maybe a youth counselor or with a Sunday school teacher or with a pastor and share with them something, a secret that they don't want everyone to know. We want confidentiality to be kept except for when abuse is happening. But we also want to be transparent in these areas. And so we want you to consider that counseling of any sort may happen where others can see it taking place. Another way that we prepare our facilities is user agreements. You'll find a copy of our user agreement on our website under the Forms section. We ask that any group who is using your facility at church, this may be a Boy Scout group or Girl Scouts, it may be Alcoholics Anonymous, it may be a Kinder Music that asks for to use your space on a regular basis. They must be in compliance with our Safe Sanctuaries agreement. They must sign this agreement saying that they've read the conditions, that they will abide by our Safe Sanctuaries policies as well. Another way that we ask that you prepare your facilities is to make sure that no child is left unsupervised. Again, this can be tricky at times. Often a child is dropped off early before more than one adult is there. Often a child does not get picked up on time, and you're waiting for a long time with maybe just one adult. Again, we ask that as a volunteer and as a Safe Sanctuaries team that you think through those possibilities and that you have a plan in place of how to handle those things. Another time that we often have children who are unsupervised is playground time. I know as a mom My children have wanted to go play on the playground at Wednesday night, family time. They've consumed their supper quickly and they're ready to go play. And I am not done with my food yet. And so there's dilemma there of making them wait, or even me foregoing my meal or conversation that I'm having to make sure that my children are being supervised out on the playground or in the gym or whatever happens. Again, not every parent may abide by that, and as volunteers we need to be aware of that and to have a plan in place to make sure that our children are properly supervised. We would not want for an injury to happen during that time. We also would not want for a predator to have the opportunity to abuse one of our children during that time as well. Another way that we serve as lifeguards in preparing for safe sanctuaries is to make sure that our church is adequately prepared. In the area of insurance, insurance has what is called SAM, Sexually and Misconduct Policy. This protects your church to make sure that if there was an allegation, that insurance policies would help with that allegation. Many insurance policies actually provide a discount to the churches if they are following a safe sanctuary policy. Please check with your local insurance agent and make sure that indeed SAM is a part of your insurance policy and that your church is protected. Another way that we can help prepare our churches is incorporation. Incorporation is to incorporate the church so that if there was a lawsuit that is brought against the church, this would protect the members of that congregation from also being sued. In order to be incorporated, you must have a lawyer to sign the forms of incorporation. Jody Curry, who is our chancellor for the Kentucky Conference, can give the correct forms to a local attorney on your behalf. She can be contacted at this email. If you have any questions regarding incorporation, please contact Jody Curry. Another way that we prepare is to prepare our family and our youth and our children for the event that may be happening. Permission slip forms need to be filled out containing the information about each child who is participating in that trip. Registration forms must be filled out for every child that is participating in that event. These forms give us basic information about that child, can alert us to any allergies that they may have, and who to contact in case of an emergency. Also, participation covenants. These outline the expectations of a trip, the details, phone numbers where parents can contact those who are in charge. That is another way that we can prepare our children and our youth and our families for our ministry events.